Hi. No one really tells us what being adopted should feel like. We grow up hearing stories of rescue, stories of love, and of second chances, and we're told we're the lucky ones, and that everything turned out the way it was meant to. But under that story, there's another one, a one that lives there without sound inside us, even when no one else can see it. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about that gap between the adoption narrative that we were given and which most people accept and understand, and the lived reality that so many of us carry. For decades, adoption has been told as a story of rescue. Our parents were heroes and us, the children, were grateful. The ending usually happy. But for many adopted people, the story didn't match the feeling, because inside we were confused and disconnected and trying to live inside someone else's version of our lives, essentially trying to survive. And we learned early that the world preferred that neat, tidy version, the one where loss was erased by love. But our bodies remembered something else, that sense that something had been taken long before we had words for it. And research now confirms what many of us always knew, that adoption begins with loss. How could it not? A loss that's rarely named and one that's almost never grieved. Studies show that adopted people are overrepresented in therapy, in mental health care, and in recovery spaces. And this is not because we're broken, it's because we began life with a rupture that nobody acknowledged. We tried to make sense of the feelings and the confusion, feelings that didn't fit the story we were being told. So we buried our confusion under smiles, compliance, or acting out in some cases, and we learned to perform okay. So when we eventually walked into a therapy room as an adult, we're not really seeking to be fixed. I think many of us are seeking to be understood and seen for the first time in our lives. And when someone can finally say, this makes sense, something inside us is freed. It feels like we can breathe for the first time. I know that's how it was for me. Nancy Verrier called it the primal wound, the trauma of separation from the biological mother. And it's not just emotional, it is biological. Because when an infant is separated from their mother, the stress hormones surge, the nervous system reorganizes around that loss, and even before we could speak, our bodies were already adapting to absence. So when we feel that deep ache, that confusion, that feeling of being untethered, it's not our imagination, it's not dysfunction, it is the echo of that separation that we were never meant to endure alone. And we carry it in our bodies, and we carry it in the heartbeat that once matched someone else's and suddenly then didn't. And here's what we were never told. We make complete sense. Every adaptation, every behavior, every survival instinct, it is a response to something real. Something our systems knew long before anyone else did. We were never broken. We were reacting exactly as a human being is designed to react to separation, uncertainty, and loss. So what we were feeling and what we are feeling isn't pathology, it's intelligence and it's resilience. And healing doesn't come from erasing the past, it comes from finally seeing it clearly and seeing it without shame. Because the moment that we stop asking what's wrong with me and begin asking what happened to me, what have I endured, this is the moment when we can start to acknowledge what we've been through. Many of us have lived our lives feeling kind of unseen, that our feelings we've had to dumb them down, not really express them, people haven't really understood. And if you've ever wondered why you feel the way you do, you're absolutely not alone. And this space here, this channel, that exists so that we can bring these truths out into the public space. yes, to educate people, but largely so that people who have gone through adoption can feel like part of something, and ultimately to feel seen. You've already survived the hardest part of your story, and now it's time to feel seen. And this is why I've written this book, because I've worked with adopted people. I understand how powerful it is to be in a room, yes, with other adopted people who just get it. And we talk about this a lot. It's that sense of not having to explain yourself. It's just that silent, quiet knowing. But do you know something? It's the first time that we are told or read that everything that we feel and everything that we have done is completely and utterly normal, and it's part of our survival strategy. We can then start to emerge from that and to begin to make sense of our lives, of ourselves, and to move forward. Thank you so much for listening, and the link to this book is in the description. And it's a journey. It's made up of all the different aspects of struggle that many of us have to face into throughout our lives. And there's spaces in there for us to fill in our own in the gaps that are provided within that larger narrative, because each of us is individual. Each of us has had our own particular aspects to navigate and challenges to overcome. And so it is designed to guide you gently through that journey. So yeah, thank you for being here today. With love, as always.